Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Today we're gonna talk about my favorite reads from 2024. I made a list of total 5 books that are my favorites, but there are also some honorable mentions to make in this video. And without further ado, let's start with the memorable books. The first one is What I Talk About When I Talk About Running by Haruki Murakami, and it was like chatting with the author, and there were various topics that were discussed in this one, and there were some things that I was shocked to see the author was actually thinking about. So it was a very good one for someone like me, because I like talking about everything and sometimes I just start yapping about the most random things. I loved this one so much. Let me take my iPad here because it's easier to see. The next book on my list is The Daughter of Dr. Moreau. I'm not very fond of historical stories, and I don't even watch historical movies. I don't even like reading about my country's own history. This one was an exception for me. This was about the history of a land that was completely unknown to me. Everybody had the same fights over the course of time. We're all actually the same. History is also something that might have many different perspectives. And The Daughter of Dr. Moreau was about a wealthy man, and he's having different experiments about human life. I feel like I've talked about this book on my channel before, so I don't want to repeat myself. During these experiments, he is trying to combine some creatures, animal-like creatures, with humans, and he's trying to improve the human health and human nature. But there's one aspect of human nature that he doesn't recognize, which is emotions and feelings. So when emotions get into the matter, the things don't go as he planned, so it's a good one to give a chance. And the last book on this list is The Summer Without Men, of which I have a physical copy, and I actually got this to try because it was like one of the easier reads for me. It seemed like that, like the books that I got for 5 liras during high school. It turned out to be something very different. There's a woman who is about to divorce, and she goes back to her mother's house to have some time with her, away from her husband and the issues that they're having. Actually, the man has a girlfriend, so the problem is with him, we can say. And there are lots of old women where her mother lives, and she spends some time with these women. As far as I remember, the woman was also sick, but I'm not sure. You can check it yourself. And there she discovers the problems, struggles of old age, and how important it is to live your life fully. It also made me reflect on the later stages of life. And some of these women had lost their husbands, and they were now old and alone and lonely, most importantly. I actually hadn't imagined that kind of life because it is so far away from me, you know? But this book gave me a very different perspective about time, age, and love especially. So it is important to spend the time you have with the loved ones and not worrying about the things that you can't change. Now let's move on to my actual favorites list. These books are rated 5 stars. Some of them I don't remember very well, and I don't remember why I rated them 5 stars, but I will try to remember for you. The first book on my list is The Silent Patient, but I also want to mention the other 2 books by the same author, The Maidens and The Fairy, which I read in Turkish. All these books are very interesting in terms of their storylines. Actually, yes, all of them were very good. We can say that the one that I liked the least was The Fairy, and the one that I liked the most was... I can't decide between The Silent Patient and The Maidens because they were very different, and all 3 of these books are thrillers. Actually, there's murder, there's suspense, and there is the unreal reality, you know. It turns out that something you knew was actually something else. The next book on my list is Caraval, which I read in Turkish because I tried reading this one the previous year, 2023, and I didn't understand it in English on my Kindle, so I wanted to have my hands on it physically, and this time I liked it. And I liked it so much that I'm including it here. This is about a fantasy world. There's a game called Caraval, and there are two sisters whose father is a very hard man, and they're trying to escape from him. And they have been writing letters to the owner of this Caraval, and he was called Legend. And one day they get accepted and they go there. Actually, they are also escaping from their father, and lots of things happen. The sister of the main character gets kidnapped, and she tries to find her, and it turns out that this was the game there, and the games are very dangerous there. Also, it plays some tricks about your mind, your senses, and she falls in love. And there are 2 more books in this series, so I highly suggest you give this one a chance. But this series is not to read in a rush. You need to understand and pay attention to every detail of it. So the depictions are very amazing. I read another series by the same author, Stephanie Garber, which was Once Upon a Broken Heart, and if you watched any of my previous videos, you know that I fell in love with that series too. But if I had to compare these 2 series, I would choose Once Upon a Broken Heart series a million times. The next book on my list is Finlay Donovan is Killing It. I don't know why I like this series so much. Actually, there's a new book coming this year too. But I don't like this kind of messed up characters. And Finlay Donovan is a single mother because her husband cheated on her and he just left. So she's all alone with 2 children. One of them is a baby and the other one is a child. She goes to school, I think. And she's trying to manage everything, and she's trying to work at the same time because she needs to earn money and she needs to prove that she can be independent. And in the first book, she accidentally kills someone. Yes, she wasn't the killer, but she tried to hide the murder because she was about to end up in the jail. And in the next books, she accidentally kills and tries to cover up. Then she finds herself in a relationship with a police officer, and she also tries to hide these murders from him too. So it's very exciting and it's very funny, and it is actually very motivating to see women being independent, kicking their ex-husbands and not needing them. The next book is The Hotel Nantucket. When I first started reading it, I thought it was one of the summer books that are very simple, surface level. Also, this book was very long, so it was hard to finish it. But at the end, I cried from happiness when the big things happened for the characters in the book. And it was like I was the part of the family that they built in that hotel. I was really absorbed in the story. I also read other different summer books from Emily Henry, and I didn't like them that much. Also, other books by the same author, these just weren't comparable. The Hotel Nantucket is a masterpiece. At the beginning of the hotel, there is an axe that the main character, the manager of the hotel, needs to impress because he also chose someone else over her. Later on, the story focuses more on the woman and all of the other staff that had different pasts, and they were also trying to impress other people too. They were trying to convince those people that they're actually successful. In the end, it was all about their own lives, their own decisions. We shouldn't compare our lives to other people. It turns out that. So it was a very pleasant read. I didn't even realize that I became that connected to the story, and I especially liked this aspect of it. The last book on my list is Before the Coffee Gets Cold. This is also a book series which consists of 5 books, I think, and I recently finished the 3rd book in the series. I read 2 of the books in 2024 and I gave both of them 5 stars. There are 4 stories in each book, and these stories take place in a cafe, and in this cafe you can travel in time, either in the past or to the future, and there are some rules. The first rule is the person you're going to meet needs to be in that cafe at that specific time that you selected, and so it is better to go to the past. Also, another rule is you cannot stand up and leave the cafe. You should sit in the same seat, and also you should come back before the coffee gets cold. And you can't change the present, you can't change the past. And this last rule actually makes people quit traveling in time, because they say there's no point in traveling to the past if you cannot change the present. And most of the time people travel to see their deceased people, and I cried during the first 2 books, and that's why I'm including them in my list. But the 3rd book didn't satisfy any of the expectations that I had, because it was set in a different cafe and there were many different people. Also, I'm not very familiar with the Japanese names, so I couldn't understand any of it, any of the stories, even the background stories of the cafe owners. It was a disappointment for me. I'm gonna try again with the 4th book. I think the video is long enough now, so I'm not gonna talk about my 2025 TBR here. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comment section below if you had read any of the books that I mentioned here or any of the series, and if there are any book recommendations that you have for me. I'm open to any suggestions that you will make. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more of this kind of bookish content. Also, let me know what kind of content you would like to see from me in the future videos, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!